Good morning, everyone. I'm Lee Simon. I'll be your host for today's webinar. I'm joining you from Paris. I think most of you are probably in the U.S., so good morning to you. Good afternoon to me. Good afternoon to Dengiz. He's in Cyprus, and an hour behind, or an hour ahead of Paris, actually. So it's pushing dinner time for Dengiz. We're going to be talking about Northern Cyprus today, and before I let Dengiz take it over and tell you about the next potential doubling project that he's found for us, I want to talk a little bit about Northern Cyprus. I've visited for the first time a couple years ago. Been working with Dengiz longer than that, and been interested in Northern Cyprus even longer than that, going back maybe 10 years. It just took me a while to find a good contact to work with on the island. And Dengiz, I know you have some charts showing the appreciation of property in Northern Cyprus over the last 15 years or so. I wish I would have bought at that time, but of course, we always wish we bought before, but there's still potential here, and you're going to show us a project that is particularly of great potential in a new section that is developing in Northern Cyprus. And that's the thing. Dengiz and I were talking, Kathy and I were just in the southern Turkish coast, and it was for vacation, but frankly, most of the time it was stressful. It's crowded, it's over-touristed. You hear about over-tourism in many places in Europe at the moment. And Northern Cyprus has just the right amount of tourists. You can get an excellent yield, enjoy visiting if you want to visit yourself, and not be overrun with hordes of people. And the area that I bought in 2 years ago, the property is just being finished now. It'll be finished in the next few months, I believe. And it's on paper, it's doubled in value already. But even at the new value, my net rental yields are going to be strong. This is a market that is central to the region. It brings in tourists from Turkey because it's less expensive than even, reasonably affordable places in Turkey. The coast part that I was actually expensive, if you will, not expensive by U.S. standards per se, but expensive by options like Spain. Northern Cyprus is less expensive. So the Turks come, people come from Israel, from the entire region for vacation, and more people are going to live full time thanks to the residency, the ease of residency that Dengiz is going to tell you more about. So there's great opportunity here for investment. I originally bought for the cash flow, not thinking about or worrying about the appreciation, which is how I've been investing for the last 15 years or so, since the 2008 global crisis, going back to basics, just looking at rental yields, and any appreciation is on top of that. In this case, it's flipped. The appreciation has been good, and it's continuing, and the rental yields are still strong. And I think you have a chart that you're going to show us a little bit later, Dengiz, showing us some of these projections. And it's one of those destinations that you can maybe compare it to Belize, for example, which has only 400,000 people, but it attracts millions of tourists every year. And so that's a simple way to explain Northern Cyprus. Lots of people coming, more than the people there. Tourism is a big part of the economy, but not the only part of the economy. So I'll let Dengiz take it from here to tell us about this this new developing area, and the developer who's focused on a very large and interesting project there happens to be the same developer that I bought with in a different part of Northern Cyprus, and their projects all look good and get completed within the time frame that they tell you. So I'm very excited about this opportunity Dengiz is going to tell us about today.
Thank you, Leif. Thank you very much. I bring warm greetings from sunny North Cyprus. Yes, it's almost 5 o'clock in the afternoon, but still the sunshine is there. It's quite warm nowadays. And as you rightly said, I'm also very, very excited for this presentation, not only because of the presentation, but also because of the new opportunity that we're bringing on the table. It's been a fantastic ride with Live and Invest Overseas and ourselves during the past 5 years or so. And we've helped more than 100 buyers, Live and Invest Overseas readers, to purchase and invest in northern part of Cyprus. And throughout the years, we've seen a lot of capital appreciation in different regions. However, when me, Leif, and Kathleen, and my colleague Soylan, when we're talking about it, what could be the next opportunity? What could be the next opportunity? We came up with the idea to bring the West Coast into the picture, West Coast of the Cyprus into the picture, because that is the last remaining immature area, coastal area in the island of Cyprus. And it is promising, still even nowadays, it is promising almost 100% capital appreciation, let alone a high return of investment potential in the up and coming months. So therefore, I'm very, very excited. I'm going to talk about a little bit on the island for those who don't know, and explain a little bit about ourselves, our economy, etc., northern part of Cyprus. And then I'm going to be talking about the specific project, as I said, on the western coast, which is the up and coming area, which is the area to be in, which is where I am investing myself. And I'm trying to convince Leif as well to invest along with me. So today we're going to be talking about a private beach development, private beach compound. And it's basically on the Mediterranean. It's on the west coast of the Mediterranean. As you know, beachfront properties are extremely rare, even in the Mediterranean. And even if you get a hold of one, it's quite expensive. So I'm very, very excited to be presenting this project. It'll not only have a beach frontage, it'll also have a yacht marina on the premises. And the up-and-coming mall is also going to be built quite close to this development project. We secured a deal with the developer. As I said, as Leif rightly said, we've been working with them for a while now, and we have an established track record with them. So we secured the deal for them to chip in for the 50% of the taxes that is involved for transactional taxes. And also we agreed with them so that they will give us up to 36 months, depending on the unit chosen, interest-free payment plan from the developer themselves. So no bank involved, no nothing involved, etc. We're going to be presenting units with prices starting from £75,500. With today's conversion rate, that's less than $100,000 US dollars. It's about 99,000 US dollars. And 35% is payable upfront at the signing of the contract, but the remaining 65% is interest-free, payable in 36 months with developer financing. And I will show you the projections. The capital appreciation for the smaller units that I will be presenting looks at 10% return of investment, which is fantastic, especially nowadays when we're expecting the Federal Reserve to drop down on the interest rates and the savings percentages on the bank accounts are going to go less. So 10% is quite nice. So where is Cyprus? Where is Cyprus? Where is north of Cyprus? Cyprus is, you can think of Cyprus as like a Greek island. However, it's not on the Aegean Sea, but rather in the Mediterranean. It's basically a continuation of the whole Greek island, Aegean island thing going on. And it's on the eastern part of the Greek islands. And it's quite similar in terms of climate. It's quite similar in terms of geography, topography, etc. It's quite similar. So if you're accustomed to the Greek islands, it's not too different than the Greek islands. Typical to the Mediterranean, it's a sunny and warm climate. We have about 300 days of sunshine. We have long, hot summers. We don't get snow, or rarely get snow on the mountains, maybe once every 40 years. As Leif rightly said, the cost of living is quite low here. On day-to-day transactions, we use Turkish lira, which is, I believe nowadays, $1 US dollar is about 36 Turkish lira, 35 or 36. So US dollar is quite strong against the Turkish lira. The cost of living is quite low because of that reason. It is considered to be one of the safest areas, safest countries in the world. Being an island, of course, helps, but also the population is quite well educated. And we don't let people have criminal backgrounds into the island. That's actually one of the reasons, one of the requirements for the residency. If somebody has a criminal background record, they're not allowed residency on the island. So the crime rate is extremely low. Cyprus used to be an English colony. Therefore, the population is educated in English. So the local population is quite very well spoken in English. which means that our North American clientele, our English-speaking clientele, can communicate quite easily with the local population. You don't need to learn another language. You don't need to learn Portuguese, Spanish, Greek, or whatever it may be, whichever country that you may be in. You can just communicate with the local population in English. There are a lot of direct flights from Europe, but also there are a lot of one-stop flights from the United States as well. So with one-stop transit flights, you can reach to Cyprus quite easily. And as I said, the north part of Cyprus in particular, and the west coast even more particular, is less mature in terms of real estate. Therefore, the prices are undervalued, and which means that there's a huge potential for capital appreciation and huge potential to make money, obviously, once you invest in these type of properties. The medical care is quite affordable. We have very, very good hospitals, European Union standards. Along with our construction codes, they're also European Union coding. Therefore, they're quite durable, earthquake tolerant, etc. The taxes are quite low as well. We enjoy the Mediterranean diet along with the Mediterranean sun, and the people are quite friendly. The island has been known throughout the Ions, actually, because of the friendly population that it has. We Cypriots are considered to be very friendly, especially to expats, to people who would like to move out here and to live here. We have a lot of culture. We have a lot of history going on, and we're quite known for our entertainment. We enjoy life here in Cyprus. We have a certain lifestyle. We do work hard, actually, but I believe not as hard as the American people do. But along our hard work, Cypriot hard work, let's say, we also like to enjoy life. We also like to enjoy outdoors and entertain ourselves. The nature, the outdoor activities, the beaches and the water sports, I don't even need to mention them. They're quite well known in this part of the world, and a lot of people come just to take advantage of that. The economy is also doing quite well nowadays. The economy of northern part of Cyprus is basically based on four pillars. One of the main pillars is obviously the tourism sector. As Leif explained, it's growing quite strongly. During the past 5 years, we've seen a five-fold increase in the number of tourists that visited northern part of Cyprus. Our hotels, this is one of the hotels actually on the picture. It's called the Noah's Ark. We have casino hotels that are quite well known in the area. We have about 28 casinos. This part of the world is considered to be the Las Vegas of the Mediterranean, of the Eastern Mediterranean. So a lot of the tourists from all around come to take advantage of the entertainment sector that we have. As I said, the tourism is quite strong. Alongside the tourism sector, tourism industry, we also have the higher education sector. We have, again, about 20 universities, and we have about 110,000 university students, about 80,000 of them being international students. So if you think about a population of about 400,000 people, and we have another 100,000 university students, that shows you how multicultural we are and the significant contribution of those university students into the economy, especially when they're renting out properties like the ones that I'll be presenting to you. Medical tourism is also an up-and-coming sector. The IVF clinics are quite well known throughout Europe. A lot of Europeans travel to northern part of Cyprus to get their IVF treatments. Cosmetology treatments are also quite well known and quite cost effective. So that is an up-and-coming sector, especially with the IVF patients. They also tend to stay 2 to 3 weeks in Cyprus to get their treatment done. And again, they rent out properties because of the duration of their treatments. Now, supporting all these three pillars, obviously, is the real estate sector. The real estate is contributing a lot to the economy of Cyprus, or northern part of Cyprus. It's contributing to the tourism employees. If they want to stay outside of the hotel that they're working in, they rent out a place. The students, they need a place to stay. Of course, we do have the dormitories and everything, but if they want to stay outside of a dormitory, they rent out properties. And also the medical tourists, they also rent out a lot of properties, which shows that the real estate sector has a lot of capital appreciation and return of investment potential. We just have a new airport opened up. It's about 10 million capacity. We reached a capacity of about 3 million airline travelers this year. So this shows you the perspective that the country is heading into. We're targeting about 10 million in the up and coming years, and we are ready for that. Now, as I said, I'm gonna be talking about the west coast of the island. As you can see, I pointed it out with the red circle, red dot on the map, on this specific map. All the other coasts that you see, except for that peninsula on the upper right-hand side, which is called the Karpas Peninsula, are right now either developed or almost about to reach maturity in terms of their developments. Why I'm singling out Karpas is because it's a natural conservation area. We have what is called the wild cypress, wild Cypriot donkeys in that area. So the whole peninsula, or at least 75% of the peninsula, is a natural conservation zone. Therefore, nothing can be built upon there. So the only remaining area that is still being developed or shows potential for capital appreciation is the west coast, especially on the area that I marked on the map. This is a graph that Leif was mentioning about. It shows the capital appreciation of the coasts of the northern part of Cyprus throughout the years, starting from 2002, 2003. The north coast of the island is the most developed, most popular area in the northern part of Cyprus. And as you can see, it always sets up the benchmark in terms of price per square meters of the real estate. These figures, by the way, are price per square meters of real estate, and it shows the steady increase in prices throughout the years. The good thing about Cyprus is because it being an island, it's always driving a lot of population into the island, a lot of attention into the island. The real estate prices, even though they may become stagnant for a couple of years, they never go down. They always keep on increasing. Sometimes more, sometimes less, but they don't go down, which is a wonderful news for real estate investors such as yourselves and ourselves, because that shows that your investment is always going to appreciate in value, sometimes more, sometimes less than the other times, but always on the upper side. Now, the second line underneath the first one is basically the East Coast. And as you can see, the East Coast, all the way up until 2020, 2021, did appreciate in value. However, since 2021, it jumped in value and almost more than 2.5 times, doubled in value, and it reached the values of the northern coast. This basically coincides with the post-COVID area. Again, it coincides with the times that me and Leif, we started putting Cyprus, northern part of Cyprus, onto the map, and a lot of people started investing in the East Coast. They did enjoy a lot of capital appreciation, 2.5 times, 250% capital appreciation in about 4 to 5 years. It's fantastic. And this is where it is right now. It caught up with the northern coast of Cyprus. Now, so this is where the opportunity is. If you look at the bottom graph, you're going to see the prices per square meter of the West Coast, which is the area that the project or the development that I'm going to be presenting you in this presentation is located. So if you take a look, the prices, again, were quite steady up until 2023, where the building codes were changed. And the beachfront started being bought up with the developers who made money on the East Coast. And they started taking care of beautifying, let's say, the beach coast, the beachfront, and investing on the coast. As you can see, the prices have increased already in 2024, but we're expecting it to catch up with the rest of the coasts. And it shows us that we're looking at about 80% capital appreciation, potential for capital appreciation in the up and coming years. This is a wonderful opportunity because if you think about it, in the next 2 to 3 years, appreciating in value for about 80% and catching up with the rest of the island is going to be a wonderful opportunity. And it basically shows that this is exactly the right time to get into the investment, on the West Coast to take advantage of this opportunity. Of course, if you're interested in the North Coast or in the East Coast, we have a lot of properties to show you with pleasure. However, the investment opportunity where I am shifting my investment portfolio, or at least combining with my investment portfolio, is the West Coast as we speak. This is another basically summary of what's happening. And as you can see in the North Coast, the ROI, we're looking at about 7%. On the East Coast, we're talking about 8%. I'm talking small units and net ROI. But on the West Coast, we're looking still at about 10 to 11% return on investment net. This is a fantastic figure, especially when the interest rates on the savings accounts are beginning to come down. this is the opportunity to make money, to continue make money on your hard-earned cash. Again, this is the North Coast, what it used to be in the 1990s. This is the Bella Pais Abbey. It's quite well known. And the bottom picture is about 30, 35 years later. Look at the city, how much it grew, how much it grew. This should give you an idea about the increase in capital appreciation, which was phenomenal in the other pictures that I showed you. In 15 years' time, this is what we experienced. But if you go on to the East Coast, we experienced a similar growth in 5 years' time. Post-COVID times, people wanted to start, moving around. People started to have this nomad type of lifestyle. They wanted nice climate, they wanted sunshine, etc. And they moved to places like Cyprus, northern part of Cyprus. They moved to places like Greece. They moved to places like Portugal. So that's why the prices increased in the East Coast. And again, it caught up with the prices of the North Coast. And it experienced a similar type of appreciation. However, right now, the emerging part or the still maturing part of the northern part of Cyprus is the West Coast. This is what we're going to experience. This is a very funny picture. This was what Las Vegas used to look like, the Strip, and now you can, what it looks like. So we're always talking about what the West Coast is going to look like. Of course, it's not going to become a Las Vegas, but again, it shows quite strong potential for capital appreciation. As I said, about 80%. This is what it is, guys. This is the West Coast as we speak. These are actual pictures. On the west side, you will see a freshwater lake, basically filled up with water coming from the undersea pipelines from Turkey. This is basically an insurance policy for the water resources of Cyprus. The water is being piped underwater from Turkey. And we always have continuous water, even though it's a very, very hot climate here in Cyprus. We never run out of water, thanks to Turkish water. And not only that, it also shows a fantastic scenery, provides a fantastic scenery with this wonderful freshwater lake. It's also best location for water sports, the West Coast. And the coastline is, again, it's very, very close to the mountain ranges. Therefore, you get a lot of, a lot of nice views, especially when you start climbing up the mountainside. You get unobstructed sea views. You get a nice cooler breeze from the coast, from the mountainside, etc. It's quite nice and quite scenic. It's also the region for the indigenous fauna, flowers of northern part of Cyprus, actually for Cyprus. This is the Cypriot orchid, and it's quite lovely, especially in springtime when they come out of the ground to see them. It's quite nice. And the local cuisine is considered to be one of the best of Cyprus. Cyprus cuisine is already quite nice, but the local cuisine is considered to be one of the best. One of the reasons is because the local cuisine is sourced from local materials, local organic produce, and it's quite abundant in the West Coast. The soil is unpolluted, the air is unpolluted. It's a very, very nice area. A lot of history going on as with everywhere else in Cyprus, and a lot of local festivals do happen on the West Coast. A lot of social activities going on. The West Coast is known to have this typical Mediterranean, Italian type of, Sicilian type of lifestyle. Not of the mafia or anything similar to that, but more of a calm, laid back, less traffic, what we call the yavaş yavaş lifestyle. In Turkish, yavaş yavaş means slowly lifestyle, enjoying life, peaceful, tranquil lifestyle. However, the area is drawing a lot of attention, and a lot of developments are beginning to pop up in the area. And what is basically being positioned in the area is, number one, a yacht marina. We have a yacht marina on the east side of the North Coast. And now another yacht marina is being built on the West Coast. And in this particular area, it is a quite advantageous location for a yacht marina, because all the yachts coming from areas like Israel and similar regions, they need a pit stop while they're going back to Europe. And this is a fantastic pit stop to refuel or buy groceries, food, water, etc. So it's a fantastic location. A hospital is being built, a huge wellness center is being built, and I'm not talking about a small sports complex. A wellness center, along with all this type of cosmetology centers, all this type of how should I say, good life, well life centers are being coming up over there, because, as I said, a lot of organic foods, etc., are there. So people are coming to take advantage of that. And a shopping mall is already built. A small one is built, and a slightly bigger one is already in the pipeline to be built. Now, in this West Coast, what I am going to be presenting you right now, what will I present you? I will be present you a beachfront development on the West Coast with different options. Different options, when I mean different options, I'm talking about studios, 1 bedrooms, 2 bedrooms, and penthouse options. Now, this development itself is composed of 3 different stages, and 3 different stages will give you the opportunity to purchase different type of units that will give you different type of construction periods. Some of them are already under construction and it will be delivered in 12 months. Some of them 24 months, some of them 36 months. So depending on the unit you choose, you can basically adjust the delivery time, which will give you the additional option to adjust your payments and installments. Keep in mind, we struck a deal with the developer, and the developer will give you 6 months interest-free payment plan when you purchase one of those units, depending on the phase of the construction that you purchase. Again, one part of the deal is that 50% of the property transactional taxes will be covered by the construction company with the developer themselves, which will save you a lot of money when it comes to transferring the title deed onto your name, etc., paying all those transfer taxes, etc. Why not let them pay it for you, for us? We're not going to complain. The third thing is that the title deeds of the specific property are internationally recognized title deeds. The due diligence have been completely done by ourselves. They're clean and internationally recognized title deeds. They're not timeshares, they're not leaseholds, they're freeholds and internationally recognized clean title deeds. Now, this is the West Coast, guys. This is part of the West Coast, actually. And this is where the development is being built. This is 1.3 kilometers, about slightly less than a mile of a coastline being developed by the specific developer themselves. And as you can see, they're building. Part of the beach is already built. They're already adding this water break in front of the beach, and also they will be building the yacht marina along with the yacht marina club with this beach. As you can see, it's a fantastic area. It's going to be a fantastic location. All this neighborhood is going to be benefiting from this beachfront location. Another good thing is that you will be able to walk directly to the beach once you get out of your apartment, when you get out of the elevator. There is no highway in between. There are no roads in between. All you need to do is just to walk to the beach, which I believe is priceless, especially in the Mediterranean, where the prices of beachfront properties or developments are so high. This is one of the last remaining opportunities to snatch up such a property with complete beachfront access. The first opportunity that I will be presenting you are these units at the backside, the AA and AB ones. They are about 350 meters, 350 yards from the beach, from the actual sand. And they start from 75,000 pounds, which is slightly less than 100,000 US dollars. Again, 35% down, which makes it only 35,000 US dollars down. And the remaining 65,000 US dollars payable in 36 months, again, interest-free, which makes it less than 2,000 US dollars per month, monthly installments. It's a fantastic opportunity. You will get sea views. We get this question a lot, so I'll answer it beforehand. You will get sea views from the 5th floor, and the smaller units, these 75K units, will yield you about 10% return of investment net once you decide, or if you decide to rent them out. The second line is, again, the blocks WA, WB, and WC, which are the beachfront locations. I specifically picked this. I strongly lobbied with the developer for them to allocate us a certain number of units of these beachfront locations, because I believe it's really priceless. It's unbelievable opportunity, and they're only 50 yards from the beach. They start about 119,000 pounds, which is again less than something US dollars, 1,000 US dollars, and views from the second floor, unobstructed Mediterranean Sea views from the second floor will be there. The first floor, you will get some restaurants blocking it, etc. People may ask that. That's what I'm saying. But second floor and above, you will get unobstructed sea views for life in the Mediterranean. Fantastic investment opportunity, fantastic rental opportunity, because a lot of people, when they want to rent out short-term rentals, they prefer to have sea views. To wake up to the Mediterranean in your apartment, I believe, is really, really priceless. Now, the third opportunity, which is my best opportunity, my beloved opportunity, is a two-bedroom penthouse on the first line to the sea, unobstructed sea views, 360 degrees of unobstructed views, and facing the sunset. And they say the sunset is one of the best sunsets in Cyprus on the west coast. And it will be ready in 12 months, guys. It will be ready in 12 months. Again, a wonderful opportunity to buy a penthouse on the Mediterranean, unobstructed sea views for life, next to a private beach and a private marina for 330,000 pounds. I believe it's about 450,000 US dollars in today's exchange rates. 50% down, the remaining 50% is payable in 12 months, interest-free. I've done a little bit of projection for you.
Dengiz, before you get into projections, I'm gonna jump in. Somebody popped up a question which I try and train my real estate readers to ask when they're looking at a short-term rental market. So it's a timely question. So which size unit makes the most sense for the market right now? The studio, one bedroom, two bedroom, and in this particular area, I know the developer has everything from studios all the way up to actual houses, right? His house is already built. There's none of those on offer as far as I know. And they're all being rented in various ways. But what in the current situation, what do you think is the most occupied unit or most the unit size that a renter would be most looking for?
Leif, as I explained in the beginning of my presentation, one of the biggest pillars of Cyprus, northern part of Cyprus, the economy of northern part of Cyprus, is the tourism industry. However, the tourism industry has one negative side of it in the northern part of Cyprus. It's mainly based on casino tourism, and casino tourism means tourists come on a Thursday night or a Friday morning, and they leave on a Sunday night or a Monday morning. They go back to work. So this means the hotels from Monday to Thursday are not occupied as much. However, they're completely occupied on the weekends. This tells us that other type of tourists who do not want to take advantage or who do not want to stay in a casino hotel, they want to basically sightsee or take advantage of water sports or go sightseeing, etc., whatever it may be, and they want to come on a weekend, they cannot stay in these hotels because they're already booked. So what they do is that they tend to stay on a short-term basis on hotel room types of accommodations in these types of resorts that I just presented. So going back to the question of Steve, I believe, Mr. Gordon, the highest ROIs that we get are the smaller units, albeit the studio ones or the one-bedroom ones that we get, because those get the most demand. And also keep in mind, if you rent out let's say a one-bedroom unit, 3 people can stay in it. So one person can basically sleep on the couch, and a couple can sleep on in the bedroom. So this means that, however, if you get a one bedroom in a regular hotel, you need to pay extra for the extra bed. So we don't need to pay an extra for the extra bed in this type of property. So going back to the original question, the highest ROI that we get are on smaller units, either studios or one bedrooms. One bedroom's even better than the studios.
Okay, perfect. Thank you for that. And now you can go into the returns on the studio side here.
Yeah. Okay. So continuing on that topic, if you were to get a studio for less than 100,000 US dollars, including the add on top of that the taxes, etc., and the furniture package, the legal fees, etc., it comes up to about 97,000 pounds. Now, if we take about 70 pounds per night occupancy which is very, very low. When you go to a casino hotel, you're talking about 120, 150 pounds per night. So if we took half of that and we factored in only about 65% occupancy, which is completely realistic, actually a little bit on the conservative end, and you know me, I'm always conservative, the occupancy will yield about 16,000 pounds annually. Now, taking into account the taxes and also the rental management fees and the HOA fees, etc., the net yield will be about 9,600 pounds per annum, which corresponds to net 10%, given all the expenses, all the, including the furniture, including the taxes, everything, it yields about 10%. So it's a fantastic opportunity. As you can see, the mathematics is quite conservative here. And this is what you can get in North Cyprus. Another good thing about northern part of Cyprus is that the rentals are done in US dollars, in euros, or pound sterling. So once you get a property, once you purchase a property, the rental income is also in hard currency. Therefore, you can never lose based on the currency exchanges, etc. Depending on which currency is strong, you can basically charge your rental income on that. So what is the payment plan? If you decide to proceed with one of these units, you will have to deposit a £4,000 reservation deposit. It's a non-refundable reservation for us to be able to take it off the market on your behalf. This is again about 5,000 US dollars. This will reserve the unit for the name of the client, and the down payment is payable in the signing of the contract of sale, less the deposit. So depending on how long this takes, it generally takes about 25 to 30 days. The property is reserved on the name of the potential purchaser, and the contract of sale is prepared. And then once it is signed, the rest of the 35% is transferred over. And the remaining 65% is payable with the installments available from the developer themselves. The initial units, the studio units, which I believe are the most advantageous ones, they come with 36 months interest-free installments. The second line, the smaller units on the beachfront, they come with 24 months installments, but the down payment is 50%. And the penthouse is, again, the down payment is 50%, and the installment is 12 months. So, as I said, no need for a bank, no need for any mortgages, no need for anything. As long as you sign the reservation deposit and then the sales contract, you will be granted the developer financing. Again, very, very importantly, there is no age limit for developer financing. So that is out of the question. You don't need a life insurance or anything that a bank would require you. The developer will grant you this developer financing automatically. What we do is that we also provide hands-off investment, which is considered to be a turnkey investment in the United States, which means that we will help you to pick the unit that you are interested in. And once you pick the unit, we will transfer you on to the lawyers that will assist you in purchasing the property remotely. We have set up a system already whereby you can basically sign your power of attorney in the United States, get it notarized, and get it certified apostolized by an embassy, Turkish embassy in the United States, and send the power of attorney over to northern part of Cyprus and purchase your property remotely. We can have it done. We've done it many times for Live and Invest overseas clients, and it's a perfectly functioning bulletproof system. Once the contract is signed and the property is finished, then we have the management team in place from the construction company themselves, and they will help us furnish your property, also install the appliances of your property, and the property will be ready for rental purposes. Once the property is ready for rental purposes, then we will transfer the property onto the rental management team, and they will rent it out on your behalf. They will put it in the system. They will do it with Airbnb, Booking.com, etc., and they will rent it out for you on your behalf. Sure, if you would like to use your property, sometime throughout the years, you're more than welcome to do that. All you need to do is to let them know that you'll be coming so that they can take it off the rental market and basically let you use it during that preferred period of your stay. There's also a maintenance team on site. So if something goes wrong with the property, let's say an air conditioner leaks or something similar, something minor goes on, they can basically take care of it immediately, so it doesn't affect you or your tenant. You don't need to basically be involved in taking care of the maintenance of the property. So this basically sums it up, but I would like to really show you what the neighborhood, what the area is all about on the western coast side of Northern Cyprus. You can see it's a fantastic area. The mountains are almost touching the ocean, touching the sea. It is the Mediterranean, of course. First line to the sea. This is an old picture, by the way, but to give you an idea about what it looked like, you can see the beach has already been developed. The marina is already under construction, as you can see. First line to the sea, really, really nice, my favorite. There's going to be a marina club as well. Rooftop terrace. This is going to be on the beach, next to the beachfront. You will see you will have your own private swimming pool next to the beach as well. I don't know who would want to use the swimming pool when you have a fantastic beach like that, but people will have the option to do so. There will be a lot of high-end amenities. North Cyprus, northern part of Cyprus, is quite known for that. All-inclusive, projects, even down to the rejuvenation, detox programs, anti-aging centers, medical massages, mindfulness, etc. You can have it. You will have it there. This is the penthouse apartment. Really, really my favorite. It's a fantastic location. It's a dream, really. This is a picture of a similar studio apartment that we had helped a customer purchase earlier on. This is going to be a similar finish. You can consider it as a show apartment, if you will. The one-bedroom apartments, similar type of materials, colors, etc. Of course, you can pick the colors that you would like. This is a completed condo. And there are a lot of already completed amenities. The beach is completely finished. Part of the beach is completely finished. Outdoor swimming pools, heated indoor swimming pools. Everything is there already, as you can see. This is a picture taken personal by my colleague Soylem. The west coast of northern part of Cyprus is considered to have the best sunsets, one of the best sunsets on the island. I believe it's the best sunset. Obviously, it's facing west, and the sun sets at the west, so it's considered to be one of the best. This is a part of the completed beach. Again, kite surfers. It's a mecca for kite surfers. A lot of people, the Northern Europeans, they tend to come to western coast of Cyprus to do kite surfing. It's quite well known. Another completed outdoor swimming pool, indoor swimming pool, completed, heated. Sauna, steam room, the gym. These are already completed. Another good thing about this development is that it will, once you purchase it, and you will be allowed to apply for a residency in the northern part of Cyprus. The law states that once you keep ownership of a specific property and you're granted a permission to purchase, which requires a clean background check, that I should say up front. Once you're granted a permission to purchase and then you keep owning the property, you and your immediate dependents, your children, your spouse, you are allowed to reside in this property, which I believe is one of the easiest residency programs throughout the year. For clients considering a Plan B option, it is one of the easiest residencies throughout the year, so it's a good idea to keep in mind. As I said, for the reservation is quite easy. You will have to have a valid passport. £4,000, which is about $5,000 will reserve it for you, etc. And a little bit about the developer, as Leap rightly said, he also bought it from them. They delivered on time. They always deliver on time. They're a well-known construction company, developer company. We've been working with them for the past 20 years, and they handed over 4,000 units. They're basically the pioneer on the West Coast. They're the ones who basically entered. We invested with them. I invested with them, and always have good results with them. So that's why we're recommending it. We are Avertis. I am Dengiz. We've been working with Live and Invest Overseas and Leaf and Kathleen for over 5 years now. And we did help more than 100 Live and Invest Overseas readers to come over to northern part of Cyprus. This is who we are. What we did for our clients, we delivered 100% of our pre-construction deals. All of them received their properties. They did incur good capital appreciation. This is what we promised on the upper pictures, and on the lower pictures, this is what we delivered. Always successful. We're quite proud of that. These are some client testimonials, as you can see, etc. Now, these are the additional stuff that I wanted to mention. But the most important thing is that I'm quite excited to bring you over this new opportunity. I believe we're living a part of the history in the sense that almost everything else is, in terms of coastline, available coastline, has been developed in the island of Cyprus, on both sides. So the west coast of the northern part of the island is basically the only remaining area with potential to appreciate in terms of capital appreciation. And as I said, this is a historical moment. When we get together in 3 years' time, 4 years' time, we will talk about how much the west coast appreciated, how much the initial investors, once they got there, basically made money, and how happy they are, et cetera, which the likes are on the east coast that I showed you a couple of slides earlier. So take advantage of this opportunity. It's the Mediterranean, at the least. It's the beachfront on the Mediterranean, and there is not too much beachfront left in the Mediterranean, especially at these prices. So, albeit studio apartment, 1 bedroom, 2 bedroom, 3 bedroom, or penthouse apartments, take advantage of their beachfront. There's a yacht marina being built, shopping complex right next to it. The construction company, the development company will contribute 50% of the taxes, contribute to 50% of the taxes, and we will get up to 36 months interest-free financing from the developer after 35% down payment, and 10% ROI is projected. Thank you very much for listening to me. As I said, I'm very, very excited to be presenting this West Coast. Now, you will see a banner at the bottom of your screen. If you would like to basically get more information, feel free to click on the banner. It will take you to the website of Live and Invest Overseas. You can, put down your information, and we will get it as soon as possible. We will get it immediately, and we will respond to it as soon as possible. If you'd like to reach us directly, me and my colleague Soylem, our WhatsApp numbers, our Viber numbers are also on the screen. Feel free to do so. Thank you very much for listening to me. I hope I did a good job in explaining you this wonderful opportunity that we have, and you will be able to take advantage of it as soon as possible. Thank you very much for listening to me, and back to Steve.
All right, great. Thanks, Tengiz. So we have a bunch of questions to jump into. If you missed the pop-up banner and want to fill out the inquiry page, in the upper right, there's a little blue link that says "Get in touch with Tengiz" here. You can click there as well. Tengiz, if we can go back to the projection page, just to put that up there. Some people had some questions.
I think you passed it.
Did I? I did. You're right. I was clicking way too fast.
Yep. A couple more slides. Yeah, there it is. Just one back. Yeah.
Thank you. So one question is, can you speak to he uses the term extra expenses, but we'll call them closing costs, right? So
right.
You have those in here. Although if people want to hover over the slides, and there's some arrows that can make the screen full, and I'm going to do that because my eyes are getting old, Tengiz.
Take the control, please, because I don't want to mess up the slide. With these online presentations, you'll never
have to do it for their own page, unfortunately.
Right.
But so there's stamp duty at 0.5%. So I'm just going to run through these verbally here. There's VAT on new construction of 5%.
Right.
There's the title deed transfer costs, which is the transfer tax.
Right.
12%. The government increased that last, actually 2 Mays ago, May of 2023, I think it was, to try and governments will do this. They'll change the transfer tax to try and modulate the real estate market. I'm not sure it's really helped modulate it much, but you mentioned in the slides that that you're able to get a 50% discount on that 12%. So in this case, it should be 6% at the moment.
Yes, we struck a deal with the developer, and we asked them to keep it the way it was, or to chip in for this extra increase in taxation, in taxes. So they were kind enough to do that for Live and Invest Overseas readers for this presentation.
So that's a developer offer, and just for Live and Invest Overseas readers. Then there's the utility connection, which the developer does at the key handover. that'll depend on the size of the unit, but figure 1,500 to 2,000 pounds for smaller units. You'll have legal fees. You have in here 2,000 pounds estimated for that. You'll have the furniture package. So the list prices, these units don't come fully furnished. So if you want to rent it out short term, you'll have to buy the furniture package or furnish it, but the developer has furniture packages available, and they're estimating those at 11,000 pounds for the studio.
Right.
So that gives you an idea. And then, but the way Dengiz does his projections, all that's included in your total investment, and you're still getting the net 10% based on the projections.
This figure also includes the white goods leave. So,
okay, yeah, the appliances.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. So that one's answered. Oh, on a monthly basis, I think you have it in here as well. The HOA fees are almost nothing. That's how cheap Northern Cyprus is. They do it like most developers around the world, but it's 3 Turkish lira, which at the minute is 10 cents
per square meter.
Per square meter. So
Right.
for the studio, it's 20 pounds a month. Or you actually have it 20 pounds a year. So the HOA fees are nothing, but I would expect them to go up, as HOA fees tend to do.
Right.
But still,
There's a maintenance fee of the resort, obviously, but HOA tax is quite low. Yes.
okay. So there's a separate actual maintenance fee, and that you have is basically 1,200 euros a year, or pounds. Sorry, so 100 pounds a month.
Correct.
Very, very reasonable for sure. And this ties into someone else's question. I'm going out of order. I'm going to go back just to go in order. Oh, no, it's the first one here. Can the property be lived in without renting it out? And the answer is yes. You don't have to rent it out. Or if you want to, decide you want to live there for a year and then go somewhere else, you can rent it out after or beforehand. There's no requirements or restrictions on that. Are the properties? Oh, our properties been completed? Yes, the prices you're showing are for pre-construction, still being built ones, but they have completed units. And if we go back to which direction do I go to find that?
What are you looking for?
But all the white buildings on the far left are in place. The buildings at the beach are in place and or under construction. So there's a lot already there. You'll need to speak with Dengiz specifically about what you're interested in. If something that's completed, close to completion, or longer term, and that's another question of
the one with V and W have already been completed and they're already been occupied. WE, WF have been completed, occupied. The beachfront ones are under construction, and the rest are also under construction.
Okay. And so that gets to the next question. Someone's asking, what's the delivery timeline? That depends on the building that you're buying in, because some are farther along in construction, and some haven't yet been started. But the next building to be completed that has units available will be finished in the next how many
12
months?
months. 12 months.
Okay.
Yes. 12 months. We can always source out finished units as well from the developer if the client is interested in such a thing.
Okay. Yeah, at the one level, it's you might have too much choice that might confuse you. But to get the best prices, you want to be buying things that haven't been completed yet.
Yeah, Leif. Also, not only that it gives a good chance for capital appreciation. Also, don't forget the financing is interest free. So why not take advantage of interest free financing for 3 years? You can always park your money somewhere else, earn a little bit of interest, and basically make use of this interest free opportunity.
Excellent. All right, and then this is another good question. How long do you think it'll take before the property reaches pro forma, the projections that you have there? For most new properties, so you can tell me what you think for Northern Cyprus Dengiz, but I think it takes 18 to 24 months for a new property to get up to what its normal occupancy and ongoing occupation will be?
Leaf, generally, that's our expectation as well. That's what we experienced as well. However, especially post-COVID times, a lot of people opted to live like an online lifestyle, a nomad lifestyle. So we cannot really predict. I mean, on the East Coast, they're much faster than 18 months. Actually, we reached these figures less than 12 months on the East Coast. So I am expecting a shorter time period as well. But to be on the safe side, yes, 18 months is quite reasonable in that respect.
Okay, great.
Because we're going to have to, the beach is going to be completely finished. The marina is going to be completely finished. So to get the maximum, actually even more higher ROI than what we projected, should take about 18 months. That's correct.
Right, and you got to get it furnished and once it's completed, and so there is some setup time in there.
Sure.
Okay, are pets allowed in the units? I presume
Yes.
so. As an owner, can you bring your pet while staying there? Yes, but that's more of a question of customs requirements from depending on where you're coming from. But the EU now has a pet passport that you can get. So if you're living in the EU and coming from the EU, you should be able to more easily travel than from the US. I don't think you want to be taking your pet back and forth on the long flights from the US. Are projections available for 1 and 2 bedroom units? Yes, I'm sure you have those. So Ryan, reach out and Dengiz and his team can get you those. But they're all in this. The detailed numbers will be different, but the net yield is all going to be in that 9-10% range, right?
Right. I mean, as the unit gets bigger, as I explained in the presentation, the ROI drops.
Yeah.
Because it's going to be more expensive, and you cannot increase the amount of rent in percentage wise compared to the increase prices. So as the unit becomes larger, the ROI drops.
Sure, but it doesn't drop from 10% to 4%.
No. It drops to maybe 7% or something, right. 7-8%. Yeah.
Someone's asking for if you have them off the top of your head, and maybe we can show it here. Prices for 1 and 2 bedrooms for the frontline condos. So on this slide, you're showing a 2-bedroom, 2-bath,
right?
For $330 on the slide number 3,
right?
And yeah, so 138 square meter, 2-bedroom, 2-bath for $330 in the WC building.
It's a penthouse, Steve. By the way, it's a penthouse with a wonderful terrace on top. If somebody would like to get this, I think they should grab the opportunity. It's a wonderful opportunity.
Yeah.
First time to see penthouse. 2 bedrooms, maybe a little bit further down. It's going to cost about 160,000 pounds.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. But to get the full availability list, please reach out to Dengiz.
Sure.
Somebody's asking if we can share the slides. We'll be sending you the recording of this, and if you reach out to the events team, they can send you the PDF of the slides as well. We don't do that automatically, but we're happy to send that out to you. We answered the HOA. Can we upgrade finishes? So can they make changes to the finishes?
Yeah, they're going to have to pay the differences, but yes.
Sure. I'm sure they understand. Hopefully they understand that. Can we save money if we go and purchase ourselves the furniture instead of spending 11,000 pounds? Well,
shall I answer that?
Well, I'll answer. I'll say maybe, except you got to factor in your flight costs and your accommodation costs while you're getting the place furnished. So if you want to do it for fun and whatnot, but I can't imagine that you would save enough to cover the cost of the flights.
There's also one more factor to keep in mind. As I said, this specific development will have a rental management team on site. And this rental management, they have certain standards that they send out to their property owners, and they expect the furnishing to be by those standards so that they can rent them out and basically deliver the ROI that's being projected. So yes, they can purchase their own furniture by all means, but if it's not up to the standards, then they're not going to be able to rent it out by the amount that I specified on the ROI. So
Sure.
their ROI may become lower.
And remember that 11,000 pounds includes the appliances,
Yes.
right? So it's you got the refrigerator, washer, dryer, etc. For that. All right. Next question is, how long does it take to process residency once you've completed your purchase?
The residency takes about 3 months, and once you're paying your installments, the permission to purchase is being can be done on your behalf. And once you're granted the permission to purchase and you complete your installments, then you can have your title transferred onto your name. So it goes hand in hand, but it doesn't mean that you cannot sign a contract or you cannot continue to pay your installments. The one thing I need to point out again and again is that we in North Cyprus, we basically are very strict with a criminal background. So the permission to purchase requires a clean background check.
Right, which residency in most countries does these days. How far is the nearest town?
Nearest town is walking distance. I think like a kilometer away or something like that.
Okay, so the nearest near town is just a few minutes. And where would one? So I'll change the question to where would one go for the nearest large grocery store?
Nearest large grocery store is about 2 kilometers away.
Okay, so not much farther. Okay, great.
If they want to come to the North Coast and enjoy the casinos and this and that, of course, that's going to take them about 40 minutes drive.
Okay. What's the no interest payment for the next 36 months based on the studio price? Do you have that off the top of your head? I'm going to suggest.
Yeah, it's less than 2,000 pounds per month, because what remains is about 65,000 US dollars. And if you divide that by 36, it's less than $2,000.
Okay, perfect. Is the 36-month financing mean that the property won't be completed for 3 years? I think that depends on the property, right? So the one that's on the screen with 12 months, that was expected to be finished in 12 months, right? But the ones that are under construction or pre-construction, it's about they have in the contracts a 30-month construction period, but they finish it in 24 to 30 months typically.
Yes. The reason being is that they want to lock in the prices while they can, so that any increase in construction material prices will not affect them.
Right.
So they want to do it as fast as possible.
How far is it from the main attractions? You just mentioned that the casinos are less than an hour away. And even less if Soylem's driving. So
true.
Could one move in after 2 years of completion and still make the payments from 25 to 36? So yes, they've got that sorted out.
Very good question. Thank you.
You get use of it when it's completed, and you still finish your however many payments are left beyond.
I forgot to mention that. Thank you very much. Yes.
Yeah. What are the costs for insurance?
I live in a 3-bedroom flat myself, and I pay about 180 pounds, which is about 230 US dollars per year.
Per year, okay. Are the appliances gas or electric?
Electric.
Does one need a car there, or is there Uber? I think you need a car. Honestly,
car would be nice. The weather is always nice. You might want to go around. We have a lot of historical places. We have a lot of different, beaches that you might want to visit. So having a car can come in handy.
What about? I don't remember seeing a lot of them, but I know there were a few. What about like mopeds and things? Are they?
Yes. Exactly.
Especially
in this part of the country, people do like their mopeds.
Okay, so yeah, just to get around locally, that can be easy enough. All right, let's see, what else do we have? How's the infrastructure there? Are there fast internet available? Yes, because Dengiz was very happy to say the room he's in today, he has pushing 500 megabits of internet speed. So yes, fast internet is available. The road infrastructure is decent. There's no need for, but there's also doesn't exist 4-lane highways, right? There's no interstates, but you don't.
We have what is called the dual carriageways.
Yeah, it's less population density, and I just again spent the last 10 days or so on the south coast of Turkey, and there were more people in the Bodrum area than I think in the entire northern Cyprus. It was just insane amount of traffic and getting around. How about parking spaces? I believe these buildings have parking. Yes.
Yeah, more than enough parking.
Someone's asking how much are cars in northern Cyprus?
Depends on the car. If you like to get a smaller car, it's about 12,000 pounds, which is like 15,000 US.
Okay.
And if you want to go overboard, there's no limit.
Sure. Yeah, you can always go up from there, but you can find something that's comfortable for $15,000.
Easy.
Better to buy a car or ship mine. You would buy a car there. You don't want to ship a car overseas, generally speaking. And how does one get there from the airport? Taxi or Uber? So someone asked about crossing the border from southern Cyprus to northern Cyprus, and when we went there, we flew into Larnaca. We took a taxi from Larnaca to Kyrenia to our hotel, staying there, and then when we left, we took a taxi back. Unfortunately, we had Dengiz and Soylem, his business associate, for driving us around, so we didn't have to rent a car. So you can take a taxi from the airport or wherever to wherever easily enough. All right, I think we've gotten through all the questions, and we are just a little bit over an hour, so it's good timing, Dengiz. Thank you for all the good information, the update on this project. I know the developer, as we've seen, they've got units completed, villas completed, the beach is done. They're continuing to push with amenities, and in the long term, I think this is going to be, it's going to be the gem of this western coast of northern Cyprus, the way this developer has it laid out. So it's an exciting project, and I'm glad that there's still really affordable units available for our readers. Right. All right, we'll leave it at that. Again, you'll get an email with access to the recording if you missed something. And if you want to get in touch with Dengiz, you can click on the blue link still while we have site up in the upper right-hand corner. And please follow up with Dengiz and see for all your questions. Thanks, everyone.
Reach out anytime, please. I'm always available, me, my colleague, and we'll be happy to get back to you as soon as possible.
Perfect. All right. Thanks, everyone. Talk to you all soon.
Talk to you all soon. Bye-bye. Have a wonderful day.